Alright, are we recording this time? Because I just tried this and I had my mic muted. I don't know how that was possible, but I did. Anyways, welcome to this tutorial guide video thing on how to install LibreNMS. This is my first kind of YouTube video guide, but I've been using LibreNMS for the past 3 or 4 years, and I really enjoy the software. So I figured it would be giving back to the YouTube community to do a little install video and some other videos about LibreNMS here. So I'll probably create a playlist with all these videos in it. So the first one, we're just going to get started installing LibreNMS here, and Ubuntu is my OS of choice for this. Looks like they also support CentOS 8 and Debian 10, but CentOS 8 just recently said they're not going to be supporting that anymore, and CentOS is just going away, and I've never used Debian, and Ubuntu has always done everything I've ever needed it to do, so I've had no reason to go with anything else. And it works perfectly for me, so that's what I use for pretty much anything. So basically, when we get started here, you can go to the documentation on the LibreNMS website, and you can follow along with here. They just updated this recently, so it actually is pretty simple. You're probably not going to run into any real problems with any of these commands in here, but it might be helpful just to follow along the first time, because there is some gotchas about, especially if you're going to have larger setups. You might want to plan things out a little bit differently. Just for your knowledge, for the background, I support a 10,000 device LibreNMS cluster with 100,000 ports, and we have probably 6 polars, dedicated RRD storage running RRD cache D, and a dedicated web and database server. After I've gone through and did all this, it's kind of probably makes sense to put this in the cloud, where you have unlimited CPU resources, but I had a bunch of old servers laying around, so I just used those. So anyways, let's get started here. First, this is basically me logging into the Ubuntu OS after it's done installing. And the first part here is basically we're going to install all the packages that LibreNMS needs. So you can look through here and you can kind of see some of the packages they use. But this is pretty self-explanatory. We're just adding this repository, updating it, and installing all these packages. And I actually already did this once, but my mic wasn't recording, so I'm just going to do it again because it's not going to hurt anything. And I'm not sudo, so to go sudo permanently, which is super user do as, I believe that's what it stands for. At least that's what I thought it stood for. You just do sudo I, and that'll permanently put you into root, and you can do whatever you want after that. So we're just gonna run these 4 commands here, and this will install everything. But since I've already installed it, it's probably gonna say, you know, you're already on the newest version, blah 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 blah. But anyways, if you didn't install this, you would see it go and install, and eventually we get back to the prompt here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add the LibreNMS user, and I've already added this, and then we're going to clone the GitHub repository for LibreNMS, and this is actually going to install the LibreNMS software on your machine. So we're going to go there, this is going to clone it, and you can see right now it's downloading all the files, and going to put it into this OPT directory. All right, after we're done with that, we want to set the permissions. This is just setting the LibreNMS user's home directory and setting all the permissions on the LibreNMS files. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Now we're going to install the PHP dependencies. The main programming language behind LibreNMS is PHP. There's also some Python in there, but these are just PHP dependencies that they use, so we need to get these installed too for LibreNMS to work. And what you're actually going to do here is you're going to switch to the LibreNMS user, and if you try to do that from your normal user, it won't actually work. You have to go to root first and then switch to the LibreNMS user. So if you go here, we're going to, because this should have automatically put me in the home directory since I did this somewhere over here. This is what made me go into the home directory when I switch users. So I should see all my LibreNMS files here. And there they all are. So now we're going to go to the scripts, composer, wrapper, install thing. So this is downloading all these packages here. This is for if you have a proxy installed. I've never had to do this, so if you need a proxy, I guess you might have to run these commands here. So we want to set our time zone to, that's pretty important because a lot of things in LibreNMS you're going to be looking at times and timestamps. So, you know, if you don't know what time it really is when you got that message, it's not going to be helpful too much. So now they use VI, and I'm horrible at VI, so I'm going to use Nano. Let's go. We don't need to be LibreNMS for this thing here. So we're going to go to etc php 7.4 and fpm. I use Nano just because it's easy for me. And we just need to set the date.timezone, which is somewhere in the middle here. I'll probably pass it once. And people who use VI are probably screaming at me because they're like, oh, you could just search for that. I'm pretty sure I could probably just search for it in Nano too, but I get lazy. And I'm in the East Coast time zone, so America and New York will work fine. You can find a list of what the time zones are right here. So we're going to go set that, hit save, apply. We're going to go to the CLI one, nano PHP, somewhere down here. Let's see, where are we at? Where are we at? I passed it. Nope, it didn't. Here it is. And do I still have it in my clipboard? Yes, I do. There we go. We set those. And we want to set the system time zone, which I guess I didn't set yet. I thought you set that in the installer, but I guess you... I don't know. Can I type in America, New York, dear? Or will it work? I don't know if it'll work here too, but we'll try. Let's see. Clock. Oh no, date. If you want to see a little Easter egg, DD date. Oh, that doesn't work anymore? Oh, it used to work. Anyways, Eastern Standard Time, yes, it is 11:07. Okay, that'll work. Now we're going to install the database server. Well, actually, we've already installed MariaDB, but we need to configure it now. So let's go here, copy. We're going to do nano and just that. And it says you want to go to the mysqld section and add these. So we can just do this right here. That'll work. Apply. Now, if you were running the database on a standalone machine, you might need to set this to something else because this is only going to bind the database connections to the local machine. So if I'm trying to access the database from another machine, it's not going to allow me because it's only bound to the loopback address of this machine, and only this machine can access the loopback address of this machine. So you might need to change that. But since we're going to be running everything on the one install, and to be honest, when you first install LibreNMS, you'll probably just end up doing this because you need a base install anyways to run everything. You're going to have to do all this at some point. You're going to have to do all this. So what I would recommend is actually finding the most powerful machine you have. If you're going to do this on physical hardware, get the most powerful machine you can have, and then install that. And at worst case, if you run out of CPU resources, you can just install extra polars, or move if you run out of disk resources, you can move the RRD files off to another server too. So we're going to save this. We're going to restart this MariaDB so we can, I think that took it. There we go. We're going to restart it so it'll take those config changes we had. We're going to log into the MySQL database. And then we're going to type in these commands. And basically all this is doing is we have a blank database right now. There's no tables or databases or anything in it. So we're basically just creating the database in MariaDB. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I'm not an expert on MySQL databases, but you basically have MariaDB as a server, and then you can have different databases inside of there, and one of them needs to be LibreNMS. And inside this database pretty much holds everything for LibreNMS. So what we'll do here is we'll just copy and paste all this. Actually, I can't because I need to set the password. So this is another place where you're going to have to remember, because I'm setting the username LibreNMS at localhost, and I need to identify it by a password. But you know what? Since this is just a demo, we're just going to use password for now because why not? But you will want to set that to something else. We're just granting the privileges to this user, to that table or database. I'm not saying it right. And that didn't take effect because I forgot the semicolon. There you go. And exit. There we go. Now we need to configure this PHP FPM, which I'm actually not quite 100% sure what it does. You actually didn't need to do this. I think this is more of a performance thing. I don't think you have to do this, but there's no reason why you wouldn't. Okay, I'm in VI now. Look what I did. At least I know enough of VI to get out of it. I could do simple changes. Alright, here we go. Change www to LibreNMS. There we go. Change the user and group to LibreNMS. Here we go, user and group. Change the listen. Okay. Go ahead and I probably missed. Oh, what am I doing wrong here? All right. Control O, right, exit. Now we want to edit the web server. So I'm going to be running nginx. You can do it on Apache, but to be honest, it seems like everybody's moving over towards nginx now. And Apache was kind of the older web server. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It'll probably work fine for you. It's just that it seems like a lot of people are moving over to nginx, and as more people move over to it, there's more information online on how to fix issues. So it just seems overall a better way of doing it. So let's go here. We want to go to nano etc nginx confd. Well, that wouldn't work. I need to do librenms.conf. Copy and paste all that, and basically we're going to tell the nginx to listen on port 80, serve this directory as the root, and index.php is the file it's going to serve you when you load up this server on port 80. So we're going to do that. We should have to we're going to remove the default site that comes with nginx, and then we're going to restart it, and hopefully everything works. And it didn't. Now, I've had this problem in the past, so this is actually a good learning thing because you're probably going to figure out what I did wrong here. Unknown entry listen. That's the cool thing about systemd is you can just look at the errors in here and see kind of where it's pointing at. So it doesn't like something on line 36 of this file because I probably messed something up. So let me go back in there. Line 36. So I know you can go to a current position. Control C. That's 11. Here it is. So it didn't like it. Oh, because that's not a comment. Oh yeah. All right. Well, there you go. That's not a comment in this file. Usually pound or hashtag or whatever you say it is the comment, but I guess they want a semicolon for this one, so now we can do a status on this. Oh, and look at that, it's started. You can do a status on the web server too, and that started. Alright, we're not going to mess with SE Linux. We're not going to mess with the firewall because it's not enabled. This is, you don't really have to do this, but this is a command to do basic stuff in the system. To do stuff from the command line, to edit stuff, view variables and stuff in LibreNMS. So it doesn't hurt to do it. So we'll just go ahead and paste it in there real quick. Okay, this part right here is actually configuring this machine for snmp, so you can monitor your own machine with snmp. And that becomes really helpful when troubleshooting resource issues. We're going to nano this. Why does it want me to nano it? Because it wants me to set the this is the snmp string we're going to put in, and we'll just keep that for now. We'll come back and edit this later, probably in another video, or yeah, I'll probably just install this and then I'll start another video for actually adding devices and how you go about all that. This little distro file they're trying to tell me to put on here is basically just a way for snmp to identify what kind of operating system you're running. So that's kind of helpful, so you just don't get a generic Linux box. Let's see, enable unit snmp not found. Oh, because I didn't type in the D. Should we go do systemctl status, and that started. That's good. All right, they want me to put a cron job in here, and I'm not quite sure if I actually need this anymore, because what I'm actually going to end up doing is installing the it's called the what's it called? There's another service that LibreNMS created to pull and run everything. They used to do that with cron jobs, but I believe you can do everything with the other service now. So I'm going to bypass this for now, and we'll come back to it if we find out something doesn't work. Copy, log, rotate, config. Yeah, so the logs are going to, you're pulling hundreds of devices, potentially thousands of devices. So, and every one of those times it pulls, it creates a log entry. So you can imagine that'll get pretty big after a while. So this is just rotating the logs out after a while. So this is just setting the final permissions on the config.php file, which doesn't exist. So that's fine. We can now try and get into this box, into the web portion of the install here now. Let's go here. And here we go. Wow, they've actually updated this. I haven't seen this this new way of doing it yet. But as you can see here, all my checks passed. We installed PHP, some mysql package. Actually, I'm not even sure what half of these things are, but there we go. All right, so configure database, localhost. This was his LibreNMS, and I believe we set this for password. Yes, we set it for password. I believe we set it for password. Can I go back up and look? Yep, right here is where we set it. Create LibreNMS user at localhost, identified by password. Localhost. Yep, we're going to be using the localhost. Check credentials. Let's see if it works. Oh, well, that happened. So, build database. This part's new to me. I actually haven't seen this before. Okay, so basically we're just creating all the tables in the database, and that did that. I wish there was like a next button here. It's kind of confusing that you have to click on the next icon to move forward. So we're just going to make this one admin, and we'll make it also password. You can put an email address in here, and this is mostly for alerting. So I'll just do something like that just to have something in there. Alright, so I created an admin user. Now what? First you need to validate your install. And I believe what this is going to tell me is... Alright, so this is what you're going to actually see, normal day-to-day usage. We've finished the install, everything's it likes everything we did, and now we're getting the login screen. So let's log in with the admin user we just created. And it's basically saying the only thing I have a problem with is I have no devices. So that's not too bad. There's no issues at all with this now. This is a fully working install. Now I believe it's not going to pull yet because we haven't set the service to do that, but let's just try adding a device in here first. And what we'll do here is we're going to put a device in, and I have 2 or 3 devices that'll work with snmp, but right now I'm just going to put my firewall in here, and that is 192.168.1.1. And if it can ping it, and if the snmp string is correct and it can reach it, it will add it. If it can't ping it, or if it can't talk to it via snmp because the community string's wrong or snmp is turned off, you will see it not be added in here. So as you can see here, we added it, but I believe nothing's going to happen here because we don't have any way of running this. These scripts, when you basically poll or discover something, a script runs in the background, but we haven't told LibreNMS how to do that yet. That's what that cron job right here is for. This will actually start doing that, but what we're really going to do is we're going to go over here to the dispatcher service. That's what it's called. So this is basically another service that runs on systemd for at least Ubuntu. I'm not sure what the other ones are. That'll pull and discover all your devices for you. So it does require a couple other packages we install here, but we can simply do that with this command down here. Now this is where it might get a little tricky because we need to, I'm not quite sure 100% if you need to be under the LibreNMS user, if you need to be under the root user. But what we're going to do is we're going to switch to LibreNMS anyway because I think it's probably better just to have this all running under him. So let's see what happens when we try this. Okay, PIP3 not found. Okay, so git install Python 3 PIP. Look at all that stuff it's installing. Is that right? Probably. We'll install it all anyway. Basically, pip3 is the Python way of installing packages for Python in here, and I did not have it installed by default. So it should take this command after this is done installing. We can only hope. All right, let's switch back to the LibreNMS user. Now we should be in the LibreNMS directory because that's its home directory. I don't want to paste it twice. All right, let's see what happens now. All right, there you go. So I basically already installed this, and it basically told me that a lot of the packages were already installed, so I didn't need to actually install them. So we have redes. Let's see here. Okay. Okay, so now I believe we're going to be setting this. This is for distributed polling. Okay, we're not going to be using distributing polling quite yet. I'm not sure if I need this node ID. I think that gets generated automatically if you don't put it in there. So we're not going to worry about distributed polling because we only have one box right now. I'll create another video for distributed polling. These are all settings. Now, maybe a couple years ago, you had to do everything. You had to set all your settings of LibreNMS in the config.php file. But recently, they are moving a lot of these settings over to in here. If you go to settings, global settings, and just check these tabs, you might see these options are trying to set in here somewhere. But it's probably because I haven't started the service yet or some other reason why it doesn't like it. So let me polar name. I don't know if I have to set these polar names. I think I do. Maybe that's why it's not working, or maybe because I don't have the node ID, that's why it's not detecting this. There should be, when you go to polars here, you should see a settings button. So let me do something. Oh, distributed polling. Okay, actually, this is where you set it at. Okay, so here's all these service worker polling. See this service polar worker, service worker, service discovery workers, the polar frequency, all that stuff is set in here. So if you set it in the config.php, that takes precedence, so it'll overwrite whatever you set in here. In fact, a lot of the times it won't even allow you to set it. It'll be grayed out if it detects it in the config.php. But I would recommend just bypassing this. If you find a config in here and you see it in the web GUI, just set it in here. Don't even bother with the config.php file. Okay, this is what I really want right here. This is going to create the dispatcher service in systemd, which will keep it running constantly. So, are we under root? Okay, we want to program for that. Okay, let's see systemctl status LibreNMS. And it's working. Okay, so it got in there. So let's see now. Okay, so I did get it working here, but I found a couple more issues, so we probably should just address those real quick here. So when I pasted in my nginx config, there's a server name here, and I left it at the default of librenms.example.com, but that's not really what you want, because when you click on links, it actually puts that in the URL there. So we're just going to put this in as our server, 35, and that should fix that. And we also need to restart nginx when we do that. No, what am I doing? Service, that's way old. Systemctl. Okay, so now, if we go in here, okay, so we got the nginx service restarted, and now if I go to all devices here, I will see that my firewall has been added and it is polling correctly. You can also, as a good troubleshooting step, to actually see force a run of a poll or discovery, you can actually go over here to these three little dots when you click on the device, go to capture and run discovery, and these are all the things it's discovering here. And you can see that it ran perfectly fine. If you do the same thing for polar, you can see that it also runs perfectly fine here, and will continue to run. This was running for a little bit here, so now I have some graph data in here. So this is all working now. So we should be able to good and add any more devices and anything else we want to do. Okay, I will end the video now because we have a working install with a working device added. I will add some more videos in the future with some of the more advanced features of LibreNMS. Thank you for watching.